Cesar Chavez was a civil justice pioneer and a fighter for equality, who in his efforts brought Mexican-American issues into the public consciousness. As a child, Chavez and his family, as migrant farm workers, faced discrimination and couldn't get jobs, much less a higher education. Families like Chavez's were considered foreign workers so their pay could be lowered and their hours lengthened under threat of deportation. This meant farmers had to live in one-room shacks with no running water or electricity, since they couldn't afford rent or basic resources. After years of migrant farm work, Chavez, like others, knew that farm workers would need a union to self-advocate for pay and working conditions. By the time he had established a family, Chavez, like most Mexican farm workers, had developed values of humility and self-sacrifice, as well as a strong sense of community with his fellow farm workers. Doing his part to help, he began volunteering in the CSO and learned to organize and educate the common person so they could rally for change. Communities listened to Chavez because he was relatable in his values and background to the average Mexican-American farm worker. And as a speaker with over 9 years of experience organizing now, he knew enough about power structures and tactics to create real change. He quit his job and created a union, soon recruiting thousands of migrant farm workers. He soon planned a 300-mile march up to Sacramento during the season of Lent. Various farming unions consolidated with Chavez's, making the strike effective enough to start winning minor contracts with growers. Over the next 4 years, as the grape strike continued, publicity grew exponentially at a national scale. The cause was reaching millions of Americans, and more powerful corporations began signing with the UFW. In 1968, Chavez began a hunger strike to convince his followers of the power of nonviolence and rally more of the public. After 25 days, 17 million Americans were now boycotting all grapes. By 1970, almost all the California grape growers had lost enough millions of dollars and enough public support to sign important contracts, and finally allow for the passing of the historic Agricultural Labor Relations Act. Chavez brought the universal right to unionize, as well as health care, pensions, and acceptable pay, living, and working conditions to millions of farm workers. If we can learn from Chavez's methodologies, hopefully we can get closer to the peaceful and equal society he once envisioned.